All right. Welcome back. Newest episode of Retention Chronicles. Super, super excited to have Kasey Luck here with us today, founder and CEO of Luck & Co., of course. And yeah, it's been a while coming, Kasey. So we're really excited to have you. Would love to kick it off with an intro from you, where you're dialing in from. And then before we get into the shop talk, we always like to ask one or two things that you're excited about in your personal life. So I'll let you introduce yourself and take it from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. As you said, my name is Kasey. My name is Kasey Luck. I run Luck & Co. agency. We are a retention agency for e-commerce brands. So we only work with e-commerce and DTC brands, and we only do email and SMS marketing. So we're very focused, very niche. We go very deep when it comes to email and SMS, and we're very experiment focused and data focused. What were the other questions? One exciting thing that's going on in my personal life. I actually have a lot of exciting things going on in my personal life. I recently had a baby. He's 8 months old now. It's my first baby. It's not so
Wow.
recent anymore, but it still definitely feels like a big, big change in my life. It's awesome. We're also getting kicked out of the house where we live. Oh, that's another question. In San Francisco, well, San Francisco Bay Area. So we need to move out at the end of the month, and we decided it was a good idea to just move to Europe since we have to move anyway.
Wow.
So our little family is going to Europe for the summer. We have a plan for June and July. We're going to be in Turkey and Italy. And then we're gonna kind of see if the little one likes this digital nomad thing. And if he does, we'll continue for another month or two. But if he hates it, he's the boss now. We'll have to come back and look for a new home back here in the Bay Area.
Wow. Okay. So
That's so exciting.
lot to unpack. I feel like you and I talked like probably for the first time soon after he wasn't so little. Like this was not 8 months ago. We probably talked like 3 or 4 months in to new parenthood. So
That's right. That's
I don't
right.
think I knew that though. So major congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
What did he do to get you kicked out of your place in San Francisco?
Well, the owner wants to sell the house, which we like triple check with him. We're like, doesn't seem like good market for selling. You sure? You sure? You sure? He was like, yeah. So it is what it is. It's a great place though. It's kind of sad to move, but Europe is fun. We're excited.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Can I ask anything special about Italy and Turkey specifically? Like why you're
Yeah,
headed there?
well, it's like, well, Turkey is, so I'm originally from Russia,
Mhm.
and with the whole thing going on, with the war going on, we don't want to go back to Russia ourselves. And my husband is from Russia too. But his mom, my husband's mom, lives in Russia, and she hasn't met our son, Andre. So we're meeting with his mom
Mm.
in Turkey, and we're spending a month there with her so that she can meet her grandson. And then Italy, like when I was pregnant, I was like scrolling through Airbnb, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to like live in Tuscany for a month at some point? And I was just totally daydreaming and like looking at different villas. And there was this one that was so amazing and so cheap for what it was. And I was at my mom's place. I'm like, let's just book it and like, let's see what comes. And it was more than a year out. And I've never in my life booked anything so far ahead. I'm usually like, 3 weeks out. I'm booking
Mhm.
my trip. This was more than 12 months. I think this was like a year and a half out.
Wow.
And now it's happening. And it's
And now
actually,
it's here.
yeah. And they had like a very nice cancellation policy. I think we can still cancel it if we want to. It's like, up to a month out we can cancel, but looks like we're not canceling it because we need a place to live.
Oh my gosh.
But
That is-
also
That
we
worked out
feel like,
very well. So you were just gonna go like for a vacation for a
yeah,
bit?
yeah, yeah. We thought we'd just go like for a month. And we're planning to invite my mom and then my dad. So, and we were thinking of inviting like friends, like, we have a house in Italy, everybody come. But now we have a baby, so we like closed out that invitation.
I was gonna say, Mariah and I would love to do this live.
Yeah.
Stop recording right now and just wait till we're all in the house in Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, one of the questions I thought of when you said you were going to do a month in Turkey and a month in Italy was like, how do people normally do like month-long stays unless you have family and friends already there? I would imagine it's Airbnb a lot. Is that what you're doing in
Yeah,
Turkey?
yeah. I'm a big Airbnb fan for sure. Airbnb all the way.
Very cool. That sounds like the trip of
Yeah.
a time. Super excited to do with your new little one. So very fun. We'll have to get all the stories when you're back.
Yeah, yeah. I'll post some on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's get into the founding of Luck and Co. Maybe what you were doing that led up to the founding of the agency. And then you already told us a little bit about it, but would love for you to dive a little bit deeper on what services you offer and the types of merchants you serve.
Yes. So long story is that I've always been in marketing and I've always been doing marketing, and email marketing specifically has always been my thing. I kind of fell into it in my first role after college. So I found it, or it found me. But I've always loved email marketing. But over the years, I've worked at a couple different companies, and then I was doing what I called independent consulting. And if somebody called me a freelancer or said that I was doing freelancing, I would be like, no, it's independent consulting. But really, I was a freelancer. And I would take on like any type of marketing project. And a lot of it tended to be email marketing, but for all types of companies. I worked with SaaS, I worked with events, a lot of events. I did a lot of what is it called? Conversion optimization work, all sorts of things. And throughout all that work, I've always looked for a way to focus and niche down so that I could scale better, because I felt like all of the clients who hired me for a very specific thing that only I could do. And it didn't make sense for me to hire even like an executive assistant or something, because all of the projects were so unique and so different from each other that like for me to train people on all those things wouldn't make any sense, because then the project would end. So I was looking for something that was repeatable, that I would be good at, and that would be exciting. And then just by accident, I got my first e-commerce client. And they asked me to do email marketing for them. And I've never worked with e-commerce. And honestly, I was kind of mostly focused on B2B, and B2C kind of scared me because I thought that I didn't know B2C. But they wanted to work with me, which was great. That was I had like a much lower bar back then for who I'd work with, and it would be anybody who wanted to work with me. And I did an email project with them, and it went so well, and it got such immediate results for them, that I was blown away. And I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is my niche. I would just work with e-commerce brands and I would only do email marketing for them, and that's it. And so I decided to try that. And that was the beginning of 2020. It was January 2020. And I like kept the few clients, like the few non-e-commerce clients that I had, to kind of keep paying my bills. But everybody knew that was coming in. I was saying no to all new projects unless it was e-commerce, and then I was actively looking for e-commerce clients myself. And once I got my first two clients and did the projects for them, it went really well again. And then I just started hiring people and growing, and that's how Luck & Co was born. And now we're 15 people.
Wow.
And it's so crazy.
That is crazy. Okay, so I've got a lot of questions. I'm sure Mariah has one or two as well. That first like e-commerce client, I'm always curious, like, how did they find you? Why did they think like, we're going to give Kasey a shot? She's done great work in B2B.
Yeah.
Is it more of like a friend of a friend saying they should check you out? What was the story there?
So my little hack, that I haven't talked about a lot was that I was on Fiverr. If people are not familiar, Fiverr is this platform that helps freelancers productize their services so that you don't have to like approach each client and like develop a new proposal for them and like unique projects. You just have like productized services. Like I'll do a sequence of 5 emails and this is a price tag. And then, or like I'll develop your website or like 2 pages on your website and that's a price tag. So that's Fiverr. And historically it's like a cheap place, right, to get freelancers. And there are a lot of people from other countries where labor is less expensive, but Fiverr also has this like separate arm of their business that they call Fiverr Pro. And there you can charge much higher prices. So normally Fiverr, like the name Fiverr is because it's like you can get a lot of things for $5. But Fiverr Pro, you could charge like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for services. So I had a pretty active Fiverr Pro account. And many of the services that I offered were email sequences, and they hired me through Fiverr, I think.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, go ahead, Mariah.
Quick question. Yeah. So how do you get onto Fiverr Pro? I'm just not familiar. Like I know the platform, but is it like you would sign up or is it after a certain amount of, jobs that you take on regular Fiverr?
You need to apply. So you need to, at least back in the day, I haven't used it for years. The last time was probably 2019. But back then you had to apply and they had a pretty serious vetting process. I think they like even got on an interview with me in order to like approve me as a Fiverr Pro. So yeah, that was the process back then. I'm not sure what it is now.
Got it.
Okay, cool. I was just curious.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then for that first ecom client, I imagine like at least the ESP might have been different than what you were used to.
No. And I think that was part of the magic, honestly. They were already using Klaviyo.
Got it.
And I've never used Klaviyo before. And so I just used, the platform they were on, because my personal philosophy is that I don't want to move people. Like I try not to move people from their platforms if it's working for them. If they have a problem, then yes, I'll help you find a better solution. But if the thing you have is working for you and for your needs, I don't want to move you to another platform that I know so that it's easier for me. So I got onto Klaviyo and I fell in love with Klaviyo, like with that first project, because it made a lot of sense to me. And I loved how visual their analytics was and a lot of other things. So I guess that was a lucky coincidence too.
And then you called the company Luck & Co. And that's why it's not.
Honestly, I am terrible at naming companies. It's like it's a weakness that I have. And I remember that I was like trying to come up with this name, and Luck & Co. obviously because my last name is Luck. But also because it's kind of like lucky, like the play on words. But what I did is, hashtag for our work week, all of the Tim Ferriss advice. I went to Facebook groups and I would create polls, like, Facebook groups around like business owners or like agencies, whatever. And I would be like, which name sounds better to you guys? And there was Luck & Co. And then there were like 2 or 3 other options that I was considering. Something like flame or like really corny. I'm like really bad. And some of the feedback that some people loved Luck & Co. and I think it did win polling, but some people had comments like, if I'm hiring an agency, I don't want to be relying on luck, or like something along those lines. Okay. And there were a few like that. And I was like, that's a valid point, but I don't have a better option. So,
and it's also your last name too,
right?
Like you have a reason.
Better name, I will have to go with it. So that's why Luck & Co. But I like it now. It grew on me.
Having a hard time naming companies is like a great problem to have. Like,
if you got a company to name,
one of your problems, right?
That's true.
That's awesome. Okay, one more question, then want to dive a little bit deeper into the business. I'm curious, especially for that first one, like what were some of the differences you think there were that you saw and probably still are today between the B2B marketing that you were doing and B2C? And what do you attribute like all of that crazy success that you saw on the B2C side to early, so quickly?
Yeah, I think one of the key differences is a much shorter purchasing cycle for in DTC and e-commerce in general for most products. With B2B and SaaS, like your consideration could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days
Oh,
sometimes.
we know.
Oh, yeah, right. You guys know better than anybody. And, because I never worked with B2C before, like that was my world and that's all I knew. But with e-commerce and the company that hired me back then for that first project, they sold kind of like cheaper jewelry, very low price point. I'm honestly surprised. Like I'm continuously surprised by how many different e-commerce brands are out there and all of the different things that you can sell online that people buy and like that, have market or has things that have market. But anyways, it was an interesting product, like jewelry in the shape of a particular animal. But so a much shorter purchasing cycle. And so the reason I love email, I was actually reflecting on this recently again. Email is just like the best marketing channel. It's the best of all worlds. I like truly and genuinely still love email with all my heart. And the reason is that like it's the perfect combination of you having the space to like sell and to get into the meat of things and like talk to a customer and actually like talk about their hesitations and address their hesitations and talk about benefits. You don't have all that space in a social media post or in an ad. And you truly only have that space on the website or in email. And so I think all of my prior work really like built a lot of foundation for me to help that client and get those results that fast, because my approach to everything and what I learned with B2B was learn what the customer is going through. So like customer centric, whatever, like there's terminology for it, like customer centric marketing or whatever. But the point of it is like actually try to understand what the customer is thinking about in this moment. How are they making the decision? From B2B, who do they need to talk to make this decision? Like what are all the things that they need to consider? And so I just applied all of that with B2C, right? E-commerce, but it's much easier with B2C. Like they don't have to talk to anybody about buying that like cheap necklace. So you only need to overcome like basic or like smaller, easier hesitations. And yeah, I just used all of that and built the email sequence. And because the purchasing cycle is so short, you get the results right away and you can see how your email is converting. You can see how much revenue it's bringing. And part of this magic is also like the Klaviyo analytics and their attribution model. I'm really like I really respect marketing platforms that don't inflate their results, and I know we're all very tempted to do it in marketing. But the fact that Klaviyo has that 5-day attribution window and not 30 like a lot of other marketing platforms. I actually just reached out to I was looking online for MailChimp's attribution window, because for one of our clients I have to compare the results that they had in MailChimp because we helped them move from MailChimp to Klaviyo and what they have in Klaviyo. And turns out that MailChimp has unlimited attribution window. And I thought that a 30-day attribution window was bad, but apparently you can have unlimited attribution windows. So I think that was a very long answer to.
No, that was awesome.
I hope I answered it.
So it's like for MailChimp, it's like if you ever got an email and then purchased, that is attributed to.
I guess. And I'm also confused. I guess like they use like last open or last click, because what if I opened like 3 emails and then purchased, right? Are you going to attribute my revenue to all 3 emails? Probably not. Only the last one that I opened.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about email being like your favorite channel still. And it's like you have to say still like that because so many people have said for years that email's dead. Like when I did my
Mhm.
first stint at a marketing tech company, it was a company called Return Path. And all they did was basically tell you what your real deliverability rate is. Like no ESP does that out of the box. They give you a delivered rate, but it doesn't actually tell you what percentage of your emails actually reach the inbox. Delivery just tells you what percentage weren't blocked by an ISP. And so it's like a crucial platform, but completely would be out of business if email were truly dead. It's like, purpose built for email as a channel. And when I started there in like 2018, there was this talk of like, is email dead? Should we put, I don't know if it was executives saying that maybe we should pivot the business, but certainly, us younger millennials were like, yeah, maybe we should like think about what we're gonna do if email actually dies. Like,
Yeah,
here we
yeah.
are. It's still the most profitable marketing channel, 5 years.
Yeah, I think honestly, email went through like or is going through a renaissance period because when I was starting, I definitely thought a lot about like, why am I going into this email, space? Sounds like it's everybody says
Right.
it's dead, but that's what I knew the most and that's what I really liked. So I just went with it and I just figured, if it dies, then I'll pivot. But I'm glad that I went with my gut because it's still here. Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, it
I
sounds
don't
like
think,
you go ahead, Mariah.
no, I was just gonna say, I don't think email will ever really truly be dead unless like something drastic, like you can't market in email anymore, like something like privacy, maybe it would be the last, the last straw. But I really don't think we're just so used to email. I couldn't see us not having it as a channel. That was all I was gonna add.
I'm very curious, and this is something I probably know very little about, but how younger generations use email. I think like in our lifetime, email is gonna stay. Not sure like whether it's be as effective as it is right now, but they say that all these young people have very
All the
different,
youngins.
yeah, have very different behavior. So I don't know, but you kind of have to have email in order to like register for things. But again, that's how things work today. Maybe it will all be,
Yeah.
I don't know, tokens and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe NFTs or something floating in space. But yeah, my 2 cents on that would be like just the purpose for email. It'll become more tailored. So like I will
Mhm.
never in the professional world or in the academic world, email will always have a space in my mind. Just because it is viewed as more like personal or sorry, more professional. I think the purpose of email in like a personal standpoint, that's where maybe younger
Yeah.
generations aren't using email the same way, like text or some DM on a platform or like something like that. But I do think that there are always, or even like with academics, like so many schools or universities use Google Drive now as their home base, right? And like you need an email for that. So that's my thoughts. But yeah, maybe something else will be new in 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about other channels? Because I think you do some SMS work now. Can you talk a little bit about, incorporating that and orchestrating across the various channels that you're recommending and then implementing for your clients, and maybe some like unique use cases that you think like some people or a lot of brands maybe don't think about when it comes to that.
When it comes to SMS specifically?
Not necessarily just SMS, but like orchestrating across channels with like your unique perspective that email is still,
Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely do SMS like almost just as much as email. We really think that those two channels work together. It's like I mean, technically they are two different channels and have very like unique qualities about them, but we view them together always. And whenever possible, we urge brands to have email and SMS on one platform. It just doesn't make any sense to have them on two different platforms, because you have split and messed up attribution. Automation and segmentation is so much harder when they're on different channels. So to your point about orchestrating those two channels and making sure that they work smartly together and that they don't just like copy each other. And I think that's a very common mistake that some brands make, that like don't have a specialized SMS person or partner, is that they just like send the same thing in an SMS that they do on email. And that's not the best use of that channel. So for all those reasons, having email and SMS on one platform is amazing. And that's how we manage that for our brands. And then like email and SMS is our bread and butter. That's what we know most. We also are work pretty deeply with loyalty and rewards programs. And that's where we collaborate with the brands, because we'll take on everything when it comes to email and SMS, when it comes to loyalty and rewards programs, right? But like that's kind of the majority of how those programs work. So the brand would set up like the program structure, how many dollars worth how many points and stuff like that. So all of that is on brand side, and like we can advise, but then we set up all of the email sequences for loyalty and rewards. And then within all of the other lifecycle emails, like welcome flow, abandoned checkout flow, post-purchase flow, we find opportunities where we should be talking about people's points. So that that's another kind of mistake that I see. Brands that do have loyalty and rewards programs, if they have flows activated specific to loyalty and rewards, that's like kind of already a big win for them. But as soon as you go into other regular flows like welcome, abandoned checkout, post-purchase, reorder, there's like no mention of people's points. There's no splits based on people's points. So like if we're talking tactical things, if you're a brand and you have a loyalty and rewards program, make sure that in your abandoned checkout flow, there's a split based on whether people have points or don't have points, and you talk differently to people who have points versus don't have points. And if people have points, don't give them a discount in your abandoned checkout flow. Just remind them that they have points and that they qualify for a discount anyway. So that's like a very big missed opportunity for a lot of brands that I see. We also have started doing a lot with transactional email. And this is how we actually met, because that's where I see one of the biggest opportunities for e-commerce brands is just taking ownership of their transactional communication. And like, actually, I was preparing a proposal for one of the brands, and I saw that I think maybe in Malomo marketing materials that like that thinking or the messaging that the moment, like that post-purchase moment between the time when somebody paid you money and when you when they have their product in their hands, that's the moment they're going to be the most engaged ever, because they gave you money, they don't have their thing yet. I've been preaching that like my whole e-commerce career, and that's how we think about the like a general post-purchase flow that we create for the brand outside of transactional. But that is so true. And all of those transactional touch points, whether that's email or SMS or even customer support, those are the most important things for your customer retention. The better experience people have during that time, the more likely they're to come back, purchase from you again, or to recommend you to other people. So that's something that we work with a lot these days. And then also just kind of taking a more holistic view at retention and working with the brand's other teams when it comes to ads, like the Google team and the Meta team, and making sure that whatever advertising happens on the retention side is synced with email and SMS. So we do things like we create special segments and then we push that to Google ads, or we push that to Meta ads, or if the Meta team is creating a special ad campaign, like a lead gen ad campaign, where people directly enter the email list from Facebook or like from Instagram, we then take care of people, of those people as soon as they're in the email funnel or SMS funnel, and make sure that they receive unique and personalized messaging there.
Got it. Okay. Those were all all awesome, like very tactical.
A lot of different things.
Oh, I love
Like,
it.
it's great.
I
That's
love
what happens
it.
when you ask very broad questions.
Yeah, right. No, that's what I want. You run with it. It's perfect. Yeah, I love the loyalty use case. We're seeing that more and more in our transactional triggers that we power. So very common use case now as loyalty gets bigger is basically exactly what you said, Kasey, but you were talking about an abandoned cart flow. For us, what that would look like is, in your out for delivery email or your package has shipped email, you're segmenting loyalty members versus non-loyalty members. If they're a loyalty member, let's show them their points in that email. Even though they have a package on the way, let them know that they just earned more points and here's their current status.
And they'll feel good about it.
They
And it's
feel
all
good
about
about it.
making people feel good.
Totally. And like to your point, it's the time in the customer life cycle where you didn't say this word, but the way I think about it is like it's the most anxiety ridden time too, because they have your money, you don't have your product, very much to what you said. And you don't know exactly, when your product will arrive. You don't know if there will be any sort of issue with it, if there will be any sort of delay. And so having those nice things along the way kind of soothe that experience. And then just kind of closing the loop. If you're not a loyalty member, why not use that opportunity when the customer's super engaged to promote the loyalty program? Grab loyalty program signups or subscription program signups, kind of a very similar use case when that customer's super excited about your brand. And even though you might not get a ton of signups, especially in that email saying their order has shipped, you're reminding them along the way that once they do have that good experience, especially if it's the first time, that they can come back and sign up for that subscription program or that loyalty program and start, earning dollars back or figuring out different ways to sort of save money through those programs if they like it. So I totally, obviously we're a little biased, but we agree.
Yeah. And one other thing that I think, things like Malomo help with a lot is pushing referrals, like the referral program. Because one difficulty that brands might have with it is that they do it in the post-purchase, like in the post-purchase cycle. But unless you own your transactional emails and when the person actually received the product, then you can like safely talk about referral. Because if you're talking about referring other people to somebody who are still missing their product or had some problems during their shipping story, then you're just annoying that person. So I think that's another very good synergy between loyalty and rewards and transactional and Malomo.
Yeah. And I would say there's another use case there too, where if that a customer is either already subscribed to the subscription program or already in the loyalty program, they have a package on the way, right? But they've had the product before. We know this because they're a multi-time buyer. They're in these programs, so they're high LTV customers, very loyal to the brand. You can actually promote the refer a friend program anytime post-purchase to them, because they're probably actually most excited about your brand when that item that they know they like is on the way to you. The anxiety's kind of gone and all they're thinking about is, man, I can't wait for this product that I know I love. And if they get those reminders to refer a friend, give $20, get $20 sort of thing, you're now engaging with them at a time that's really, really exciting for them. And when, we believe they're very likely to actually take you up on that offer.
Yep. That's a great use case.
Okay, we talked about transactional a lot. I'm curious, do you have any other, recent projects that you've worked on, whether it's related to transactional or not, that you've been particularly excited about?
Well, I have lots.
That's good. Business is good.
To be honest, I'm like in a very interesting period in my agency right now where I was kind of transitioning out of being in the day-to-day projects because I had to take maternity leave. But then I got back, and we've been growing the team quite a bit. But it's also not enough in order to take care of all of the interest and demand that we have. So I have been a little bit in the day-to-day projects, and we've been, like, the team in general is doing a lot of exciting things. But some of the stuff that I like personally worked with, they're you know, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a basic thing or not basic thing, but it's one of the most common conversations around email is people don't read, right? Like, why send long emails? People don't read anyway. And as an agency, we often get feedback from clients, or like, let's make this shorter. Like, why is this email so long? People don't read. And so we've done a series of A/B tests, and I love that it was like really a series of tests and not just one test that showed that for this particular brand, and like, don't take these results and just apply them to your brand as is. I still recommend that everybody test because everyone's audience is different. But for this one brand, we tested shorter emails versus longer emails, and even like those shorter emails, like, they still contain like good information. And it was the brand's, actually, like, the brand was advocating for longer emails, which is unusual for us.
Yeah.
And I was on the devil's advocate side this time, but I was like, okay, yes, that's a valid test. Let's test it. And much longer emails won over shorter emails. And that brand, like, if, like, speaking generally, they sell sort of like supplement stuff things.
Okay.
Let's just call them supplements. And so their audience just really needs education, and they want to learn how the supplements work and what do they do to your body, and like, what are the alternatives and why do alternatives don't work, and all of that stuff. So I think maybe this, like, the learning from this story is that it's worth testing even like the most basic assumptions that you have about your audience. If you've never tested that, test it. If it's been a while that you've tested that, test it again. So that was really fun, and it was fun to be wrong, and to learn that, hey, actually, no, sometimes it's worth making emails even longer than we feel that we need to. So that was fun. And then another interesting use case from a brand that some of our strategists work with. So this brand wanted to do for Valentine's Day. It was a very interesting initiative. It was only marketed to existing customers, so people who have made a purchase from this brand before. And the idea was give your Valentine a free pair of undies on us, and in exchange, you'll receive a discount towards your next purchase.
Okay.
And that campaign did fantastically well, like, worked really, really, really great. And I think there were a lot of different elements of it that made it work so well. And that brand does use a loyalty and rewards program, but for some very weird reason, I don't understand why, but that loyalty and rewards program doesn't like make it easy for them to do it. So our team actually found a workaround for how to semi-automate this whole thing without an additional platform. So just through Klaviyo, like, flows and automations, and some coupon codes to make it work. It was like a little bit clunky. Like, I really think a lot of these things should be automatic, but for some reason that loyalty and rewards program said that they can't do it. Hopefully they're working on it. But if your product is a good fit for something like that, and obviously Valentine's Day was a very, very good holiday for that. Not every holiday I think would work so well, but that's a very cool promotion that you can run.
Yeah, that is interesting. That like getting kind of in the weeds on that particular offer. You're like offering that, them to buy their partner underwear. And I imagine there's some like banking on, not all couples will last, but maybe underwear will, and they will stick with them and they like it and they go on to be lifelong customers, right?
And I think one other cool thing that this campaign achieved is another criteria or another condition of it was that you can only give a free pair to a non-customer. So if the
Uh-huh.
person who you're gifting is already a customer with this brand, they wouldn't qualify. So this is actually really like in the world where all of the brands are looking for like the next silver bullet in acquisition and everybody's struggling with acquisition big time. I think this is a really great campaign to help with that.
I love that. Love that use case. And I agree. I mean, I think anything to like lower CAC and using, what we talk about a lot, which is basically the use case we mentioned earlier of refer a friend in the post-purchase experience, driving those is like, how can we help you engage your most excited customers to turn those into new customers, right? And
Yeah, and get your customers to do your marketing for you.
right. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we kind of covered all of the topics in these use cases, which is super cool. Mariah, anything from your end before we move on to wrapping things up?
I was just gonna say one of the things which this brings up something that we've discussed previously on the podcast, but was reminded of it with that use case for gifting to your partner and lowering the CAC cost of. So Kasey, one of the other guests we had on the podcast was talking about how they have gift note, which basically it really tailors the experience to if you're giving a gift to someone, then making sure that like the email address that a brand is sending the communications to is tied to like the person that's getting the gift. Noah, do you remember this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just remember that like stuck with me. And obviously it's been months since that conversation, but I feel like that adding that element to that use case that you shared is also another way to make sure that segmenting and whoever is getting the gift is getting a different experience based off of if whoever sent the gift, because that's probably thank you and here's your discount, here's all the loyalty referral points, whatever programs the brand has. That's what was going through my mind, in addition to just admiring the cool use case.
Yeah, that's a great addition.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a cool one. It's like marketing toward the consumer versus the customer. Like if you're like McDonald's, you're marketing toward two groups. You're marketing toward the kid with the Happy Meal and the parent with the ease and convenience. And, it's kind of similar with gifting D2C. You want to have different messaging for those different, the buyer and the ultimate user of whatever that product is. But you also want to make sure first and foremost that you capture right the contact information of the person receiving the gift so that you can retarget them in the future. So yeah, Mariah, I love that use case. All right, Kasey, this has been awesome. Wrap us up. You've had a very cool career so far. 15 people in the agency, just started 3 years ago. That's amazing. What's one tip or trick that sort of helped you get to where you are today? Or more than one, if you have more than one, that's cool.
Well, obviously there were a lot of tricks.
Yeah, right.
It's all tricks. A lot of learnings and lessons. But I think one general philosophy that I have, that I heard this saying early on in my career, and it really stuck with me, is ask for forgiveness, not permission. I really like that approach. And I actually like Googled this phrase just to make sure that I get it right. And like the little snippet that Google shows says like it's not about being reckless, but it's about not waiting for other people's permission or approval to make things happen and to take action. And I think generally being very action oriented. And another saying that I heard that also like is very close to me is something like never leave the site of making a decision without taking action. So if you brainstormed or you made a decision, make the first step right then and there, because inspiration has an expiration date. Inspiration expires, and what is that word? Like motion and
Object in motion.
Object in motion stays in motion, but what is the like physical term? Inertia, I
Okay.
think,
Yeah. Yeah,
also
yeah.
matters, right? So if you just set it in motion, if you take that first step and take action, the success is so much more likely to come, because the success is just a matter of like taking action consistently. So that's a very important one to me, and I think that general approach helps me a lot in life.
Love those. I particularly like don't ask permission, just ask forgiveness. It's wild because I think the first time I heard that phrase was in a Drake rap song.
I love it.
Without giving too much away, because I probably shouldn't say this, but I'll just say we are right at the top of this hour speaking with one of Drake's brands agencies about one of Drake's brands. So kind of
It's very top of mind for you.
Yeah.
It all connects.
Yeah. And then the other one, totally agree. Like you can't, it's half the battle, I think sometimes is just starting. It's just,
Yeah, 100%.
So I love those. This has been awesome, Kasey. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots of great tactical advice, tips, and tricks for our e-commerce merchant listeners, our agency listeners, and just anybody who's generally, motivated to do cool stuff. So very much appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. This was a blast.
All right. Talk soon. Thanks.
Bye.